Hello, listeners. Mallory Wilsey here, Chief Producer of the Enrollify Network. So, everyone is talking about AI these days, but not enough people are taking the time to unpack how AI will impact the future of higher education. And that's why we launched the Generation AI podcast, co-hosted by Artis Cadu, CEO of Element 451, and JC Bonilla, Chief Data Officer at VaynerMedia. Artis and JC have worked on large language models for nearly 2 decades and have remarkable technical knowledge around how they work and how generative AI will impact the future of higher ed. Generation AI isn't just about understanding artificial intelligence. It's about being part of the AI revolution in education. Tune in, get informed, and be inspired to innovate in your educational space with the power of artificial intelligence. You can subscribe to the show by visiting podcast.enrollify.org or just search Generation AI wherever you get your podcasts.
You mentioned brand marketing, one of the goals being to build trust and to show that you can trust what we're doing. As a 40-year-old man, I completely see that and value that at a high level. For teenagers looking to go into college, how do we balance the kind of sizzle versus the steak with the short attention spans or the short videos that we're producing or the short ads? How do we say, you can trust us, we're also really exciting? That's a hard balance to strike, I would think.
It is a hard balance to strike. And I think you're right that it's really important that we have both, especially for the younger generation, Gen Z. They're starting to think about college and their post-high school life, because they want to go to a school that they trust and believe in, but they also want to go to a school that resonates with them as a personality almost. Right. And I think a lot of institutions in higher education, there's that sense of academia and maybe stuffiness in some cases that I don't think today's younger students really resonate with. They want to be with an institution who understands their viewpoint and their worldview and can help them get to where they want to go. So I think as an institution, you should definitely think about your messaging and how is that going to be consumed.
Welcome to the EduData podcast, a podcast that serves as your weekly guide to the data driving higher education. We are your hosts. I'm Jamie Boggs.
And I'm Timothy Davis. Join us every Friday for weekly breakdowns of the most important data, trends, and topics in higher education.
The EduData podcast is a part of the Enrollify Network, a robust collection of podcasts designed to help higher education professionals like you grow. Explore our other shows at enrollify.org or check out some of my personal favorites linked in the show notes below.
Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered, all-in-one student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.
Welcome to the EduData podcast. I am Jamie Boggs, normally joined by Timothy Davis. He's not in today, but I do have the pleasure of speaking with Sarah Russell from Education Dynamics. Sarah, thanks for hanging out with me today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and your role at Education Dynamics?
Sure. So I live in Kansas City and I work for, as you said, Education Dynamics. We are a full service marketing and enrollment management company, and we focus exclusively within the education vertical. So I've been with the company now for 15 years. And over that amount of time, I feel like I've definitely become an expert in higher education as an industry, as well as marketing as a tactic. And so in my role now as Vice President of Marketing, I oversee all of our marketing channel teams from the paid media side to organic website optimization and creative as well.
Awesome. And Timothy and I both have a background in marketing before we got into the analytics game. So we were thrilled when we got the opportunity to talk to you. And that's where we're going to kind of dive in today. Like, what are trends that are happening and what kind of data can we use to get the most out of our marketing? So let's kind of start with that. What are some trends that you're seeing specifically in online search marketing?
Yeah, so post-pandemic, there has been really consistent growth in that front-end demand for education searches. And we're seeing that really driven by stronger non-brand demand. So we are seeing growth in both brand and non-brand keyword searches, but that greater increase in prospective students searching for programs and degrees versus a slightly smaller increase for specific school brand names. And then if you look at enrollment trends to really help round out this picture, we're seeing rising demand for both graduate and undergraduate certificates, boot camps, short courses, which I think is likely a reflection of the job market. We've seen so many industries struggle to fill job postings and positions over the last couple of years. And employers are often more likely to drop degree requirements for certain roles now than they were in the past. So there's this greater emphasis with prospective students on upskilling in very specific areas rather than achieving maybe a more general education. And I think this all really speaks to these larger macroeconomic trends of prioritizing the value of your education in relation to that investment. And we've seen that everywhere, not just within education, but with limited wage growth, increasing inflation. Students really want to ensure that they're only paying for what they need and that they get a return from that investment that makes sense for them. So we're seeing those trends really reflected in what are they searching for, what programs are they interested in, and how are they going about making that decision for going back to school.
Right. And yeah, you mentioned brand and non-brand traffic and getting those different groups to your website. How, first of all, tell us kind of what you mean by brand marketing, and then how do we measure that, whether it's SEO or just the marketing budget return? Either way, how will we measure that?
Yeah, absolutely. So starting with that first question, brand marketing is really what I'm talking about when I say any activities that are building awareness of your brand, really defining or providing clarity around your brand identity, and driving for these prospective students not just to be aware of your brand, but to consider it as a viable option for them. And it's really important, and we've kind of seen a pendulum swing in all of marketing, not just higher education, but this pendulum swing toward greater emphasis on performance marketing, which is kind of the counterpart to brand marketing. Rather than trying to cast this broad net with performance marketing, you're focusing more on what's that direct action, directly attributable step that a prospective student or a consumer would take. But if you really focus too much there and you don't have enough emphasis on the brand marketing, I think you're really missing out on a lot of that higher funnel typical student journey pieces. And based on research that we've done here at Education Dynamics, we know that up to 90% of prospective students are not sure of what school they want to attend when they first start their education journey. They might have a couple of options, but they're pretty open. And this data point is really complemented by those search trends we just talked about, that we are seeing growth in brand demand too, yes, but it's outpaced by this non-brand demand. And I think that really emphasizes that prospective students are starting their journeys looking for these specific degrees or programs, and they want to find a school that resonates with them that offers those, not starting with the brand that resonates with them and then what programs do they offer. So I think it's really important in the larger student journey to understand all of the different touch points that prospective students have throughout this decision-making process. And it's absolutely not linear in any way. So these students will start and stop and double back and take a new approach. And it's really challenging for higher education institutions to understand how and when do you engage with prospective students throughout that nonlinear path. On my team, we talk about this as a messy middle of how these students are getting from point A to point B. And it can be really daunting to, no one has an unlimited marketing budget. So how do I make sure I'm getting in front of these students in a way that's still going to positively impact my bottom line? And that's where brand marketing really comes into play, where you're seeking to develop a really strong, recognizable presence that's going to resonate with prospective students, distinguish your institution from your competitors, and focus this brand marketing on consistent messaging and a strong visual identity and really strategic media placement that will highlight your school's unique identity and build this foundation that as they continue through this journey, through this messy middle, they have you as a touchstone to understand what is important to me and is this school going to fit with what I'm looking for.
Right. And Timothy and I have a running joke about billboards and how to measure the impact of billboards and people in that messy middle. And it's hard to really nail down attribution when it comes to that, but there are performance marketing measures that we do have access to. Can you talk about those and what people are really seeing as helpful in showing to those giving the budgets, this is what's working and this is what's not?
Yes, absolutely. So you're right, with billboards or a display ad or maybe a TV commercial or a video ad that you see on YouTube, oftentimes you're not going to be able to track any sort of action that a student takes after seeing that or how their mindset changes after seeing that. So it makes it really challenging when you're looking at the overall attribution of your marketing. And when you're focusing on how do I ensure that I'm telling the right story about my brand marketing when I'm kind of validating my budget investment to my bosses, you have to look at, for brand marketing, some of these tools like brand surveys or social listening to sort of get a better understanding of how are prospective students thinking about your brand. Are they aware of it? What's the sentiment around it? How likely are they to consider going back to school with you? But on the performance marketing side, we absolutely have a lot more tangible marketing metrics and benchmarks, which is, for me as a data nerd, very exciting because anything that you can track, you can optimize to. Right. So with performance marketing, I think it's really important to look at those click-throughs on your ads and conversion rates on any of the call to action or form elements that you might have on your website. And specifically, how frequently are people converting on that RFI form fill? How frequently are they starting an application? And how does that differ by marketing source? So you're typically going to see a lot different performance from different types of performance marketing. They're not all created equal. And I think the channels that are really crucial within a strong performance marketing strategy are going to be your search engine marketing, both organic SEO and paid search, but also social media advertising. So especially platforms like Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, where we do see more of that directly attributable action. A student is going to click through that ad. Something like a TikTok or a Snapchat, that's still social media marketing, but it's going to have more of that brand marketing value. You're not going to see as much of that direct action, but if we're doing it well and we're executing the way that we should be, you're going to start to plant these seeds of brand sentiment that will then bloom within your performance marketing campaigns.
Hey there, it's Mallory, Chief Strategist of Enrollify. Higher ed is facing a leadership crisis. The demands on today's college and university leaders are skyrocketing, and talent is leaving the industry at an unprecedented rate. New leaders like you are emerging, but no one is getting the proper training to be successful. Well, Enrollify is here to change that. Our new course, Lessons in Leadership, taught by Dr. Carrie Phillips, will prepare you to be a confident, empathetic, and effective leader. From systems thinking to adaptive leadership, building culture to handling difficult decisions, this comprehensive online course is perfect for new and aspiring leaders. Don't wait. The course starts September 9th, and for a lucky group of 26 students, we have the option to add interactive sessions with Dr. Phillips for personalized guidance. Visit enrollify.org to learn more.
And as higher ed marketers, how do we strike that balance between the big brand awareness marketing and the actionable specific ads that we put out there? Of course, we want to be able to say these are what people are actually clicking on, but it's not in a silo. It exists in a world where they're seeing these ads on TikTok and Snapchat and billboards and benches. And I know schools are doing display things now too, where it's just like a TV screen in the hallway and you walk by and you see college ads or whatever. So what's the balance? Is there a defined, yes, where we see that a 65-35 or a 70-30 is, or is it different by institution and brand? Yeah, just kind of talk about the world of balance in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's the $1 million question, isn't it? That's the thing that everybody's seeking to understand. And there's not a really clear cut answer. I think you're absolutely right that it is going to depend by institution, because fundamentally there are institutions who have more brand awareness just built into maybe their geographic footprint, or built into their alumni network or something like that. And if they're being really successful with their marketing, they're kind of taking that and using it as a stepstone. Other universities aren't going to necessarily have that, and they're going to have to do a little bit more of that brand building initially. So I think having a really clear understanding of where are you, not where do you want to be? We all have very aspirational goals,
Sure.
but where are you as an institution with your brand awareness, with the sentiment around your brand? What opportunities do you have to really maybe improve that or focus on that, and then lean into that? Because you're not going to have as much success with all of your performance marketing execution if you're trying to build off of a brand that is not as strong as it could be. So ideally, you want to find the right ratio for your institution. It's going to differ for different types of schools. But those two methods, the brand marketing and performance marketing, should absolutely complement each other, because that strong brand presence, once you're able to build that, or if you have the benefit of already maybe having that in market, is going to amplify the impact of your performance marketing efforts. And your performance marketing, in order to be successful, needs to reinforce the brand messages that are happening at the top of the funnel. So if you have different teams or different agencies responsible for brand marketing versus performance marketing, it's really critical that you have a strong sense of collaboration, effective communication, and that there's not too much of a territorial game happening there, because it's going to hamper your success. So the way that I think you should be thinking about those two facets of your marketing is to use brand marketing to build that emotional connection with your audience. You want to create that foundation that really emphasizes why your brand can be trusted and what kind of positive impact can you have on prospective students' lives and careers. Really give them those reasons to believe. And then your performance marketing, on the other hand, should really be used to drive those immediate measurable actions that are going to contribute to your enrollment goals. So your RFI form conversions, engagements with prospects post-inquiry, how likely are they to pick up the phone when you call them, or how likely are they to open your emails that you're going to be sending them after they fill out those forms? So those sorts of things that are going to track what's happening after that initial inquiry, that initial application. But in a holistic marketing approach, you need to understand your different metrics and the student journey that your prospects go through, which is not going to look exactly the same as maybe your peer institutions, so that you understand the right touch points to fill in that messy middle.
You mentioned brand marketing, one of the goals being to build trust and to show that you can trust what we're doing. As a 40-year-old man, I completely see that and value that at a high level. For teenagers looking to go into college, how do we balance the kind of sizzle versus the steak with the short attention spans, or the short videos that we're producing, or the short ads? How do we say, you can trust us, we're also really exciting? That's a hard balance to strike, I would think.
It is a hard balance to strike. And I think you're right that it's really important that we have both, especially for the younger generation, Gen Z. They're starting to think about college and their post-high school life, because they want to go to a school that they trust and believe in, but they also want to go to a school that resonates with them as a personality almost. Right. And I think a lot of institutions in higher education, there's that sense of academia and maybe stuffiness in some cases that I don't think today's younger students really resonate with. They want to be with an institution who understands their viewpoint and their worldview and can help them get to where they want to go. So I think as an institution, you should definitely think about your messaging and how is that going to be consumed in different media. I think a lot of that upper funnel video ads, TV commercials, billboards, that's the time to really emphasize the trust and the weightiness of your institution. But then use social media to be playful, to have a point of view, to make jokes, or even step a little bit outside of your comfort zone, because that is the type of media that people really engage with, especially in social channels. And so understanding that not every channel that you're executing your marketing in is going to be the same. How can you use a social channel versus maybe an offline medium or an online medium to hit those different goals?
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, that's as I try to engage with the newer types of medium along with my kids who will be going to college in a few years, I always wonder, like, what things are they going to get excited about for higher ed marketing? And when we're trying to measure that success, stepping back a little bit, we usually talk about the funnel being the high level awareness, then we're driving impressions, clicks, conversions, applications. Where is that success measured by most institution? Is it that we got a higher number of applications with our new budget allotment? Is it enrollment? Is it graduation? Like, where are we looking at as our marketing budget is working and recent changes are moving us forward?
It's a little bit of a cop-out, but I think it's all of those. I think applications are typically the highest value conversion that you can track in a close to real-time way. Especially, I think a lot of schools have made their applications easier for students to fill out, waiving fees, maybe taking out some of the more time-consuming components like transcripts, et cetera, and moving those to later in the admissions funnel. So making that application a little bit of a lower barrier, we definitely see that as a great, more valuable than a lead, but still more frequent of a touch point than an enrollment or a start. And so that's a good middle ground of that higher education success measurement. Enrollments, I think, are truly the thing that's going to, and really starts, are truly the thing that's going to impact from a revenue standpoint, how effective is our marketing investment. And I do think that for a large number of higher education institutions, that's sort of their proxy, that enrollment or that start volume as being the ultimate success measure. I don't think very many in the space are doing this well yet, but the graduation piece and lifetime value, I think, is sort of the next frontier of how do we get our marketing campaigns and our enrollment outcomes more aligned. It's going to be tying that back to not every student is going to equate to the same amount of tuition value. How much should we be investing in our marketing that's driving a lot of maybe graduate programs where we have more of that revenue? How much of our marketing is going to be invested in driving some of those short courses, which are very popular, but aren't going to have the same revenue footprint? And being able to kind of feed that data into your marketing campaigns, whether that's manually with your marketing experts or even leveraging some AI tools to be able to make some of those real-time bidding and optimization decisions based on that data, that's definitely where I think schools need to continue to move to become more sophisticated in the space. I think it's pretty common that everybody is leveraging some sort of application or enrollment data to inform their marketing optimization, and that's fantastic. And I think that if you're doing that, you're already doing pretty well in the space. But I also think we need to put our sights on what is the data architecture that we need to set up in order to take this to the next level and align with graduation rates, completion rates by program, tuition by program, et cetera.
I think a lot of schools that I work with or have seen over the years are trying to get to that place where you said they're doing pretty good. So I would love to have a conversation later on about how we could use AI, because people are scrambling to get it right, let alone get ahead. So if AI can help us get ahead, I think that'd be a great future conversation for us to have. We incorporate AI in almost everything we do now at Element 451. And I think that, in the marketing game, it's just like it is for everything else, it could be a game changer.
Yeah, it absolutely can be. But I think a lot of people are still scared of it or don't quite trust it. And I get that. I definitely understand it. But it can be so powerful if you are able to leverage it well. So definitely a lot more to talk about there.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we'll try to do that another time. But Sarah, we really appreciate you joining us and sharing your marketing expertise and how we can use data to drive budgets and enrollments. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
For Sarah Russell, I'm Jamie Boggs, and this has been the EduData Podcast.
The EduData Podcast is part of the Enrollify Podcast Network. If you like this podcast, chances are you'll like the other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month. We've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional.
Our shows help higher ed marketers and admissions professionals find their next big idea and feature a selection of the industry's best as your hosts. Learn from Jamie Hunt, Artis Cadu, Dustin Ramsdale, Jeremy Tiers, and so many of your other favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.